clicking on the narrow pavement outside. She knew the sound, and more importantly the fast-paced rhythm, well enough. It was Mr. Butterfill. "Please keep walking," she said under her breath, desperation in her tone as the sound grew louder, closer. "Please, please keep walking." A moment later, the click of the cane stopped, and Jessie's heart began to race. She swallowed the lump that had risen in her throat. Then she jumped in her seat, upsetting the twins as she heard the tip of Mr. Butterfill's cane rapping ominously at the front door. "He's here," she told the twins. "The old man what I told you about. He's come for me. Oh, Lord, whatever am I to do?" Chapter 1. Present Day. A car horn blasted behind him, and Jefferson Tayte began to swerve and snake in the road as he struggled to control both his briefcase, which he'd attached to a bungee cord around his shoulders, and the tiny wheels of the fold-away bicycle he was riding. He fought the urge to raise a fist at the impatient London cab driver as he passed, and instead stuck out his arm to make a turn, heading, as he did every Wednesday and Friday at around 6 in the evening, for the Marcus Brown School of Family History. The school, teaching genealogy rather than practising it, was an entirely new venture for him, and a far cry from his old life in America, before he'd moved to England. Evening classes had seemed the way to go, although he also ran a class on Saturday mornings for those who could only make the weekends. He knew people were often busy with their work at other times, so it made perfect sense. It was cheaper for him, too. It meant he could share the space he rented with someone else. He turned down a generous offer to fund something far grander, having decided that he wanted to make the move from professional genealogist to teacher alone, in case he wasn't any good at it and the venture failed. That way, if it did, he was only letting himself down. He turned another corner, and the low, early May sunshine suddenly blinded him. It made him sweat all the more as he made his way along the street, taking in the regimented facade of the King's College London Waterloo campus as he passed. The sight of it always made him think how appropriate it had been to position his school of genealogy so close to such a prestigious seat of learning. By the time Tayte came in sight of his own humble seat of learning, just a few minutes later, he was panting harder than any 40-something would care to admit. He was thankful, however, that this leg of his journey from the Docklands area where he lived was almost over, even though he'd only ridden his bicycle the relatively short distance to and from the tube station at either end. The school was on a narrow, quiet little street that was in full shade, for which Tayte was also thankful. He pulled up beside an iron bollard outside a 3-story red-brick building, brakes squealing and juddering under his weight as he came to a stop. Dismounting, he quickly folded the bicycle away, always a little impressed with himself these days at how adept he had become at doing so. When he'd first received the bicycle for a good many months, it would take him forever to pack it down. He'd often given up altogether. Now he considered himself a pro, worthy of a merchandise marketing video. The bicycle had been a birthday present almost a year ago now, something to help him keep active and burn a few calories. No one had said as much at the time, but he was under no illusion that it had been given to him for any other reason. He was all for being green, but he knew the gift was intended to help save himself, not the planet. Tayte took off his helmet, clipped the strap around the bicycle's frame, and tucked it all up under his arm before striding over to the entrance of the building. He paused, as he always did, to take in the brass nameplate he had made, bearing the name of his old friend and mentor, just to remind himself that he really was a teacher now, as Marcus Brown had been. He laughed to himself. "If you could see me now, Marcus, old friend," he told the nameplate. Then before he went inside, he gazed up at the heavens, wondering whether Marcus could. The second-floor room Tayte had rented was used for art classes during the day. He had a locked cupboard all to himself, as did the art master, whose easels were stacked against the wall inside the door to his left. His own classes didn't begin for another hour, but he liked to arrive early, to prepare for the lesson and to set up the folding chairs and desks he'd bought, which were stacked against the wall to his right. Directly ahead of him, before the only windows in the room, was a tired oak desk that had been there when he moved in.